Okay, so the first one, eating the right amount, it's determined by two primary factors. How many calories do you burn? What's your total energy expenditure? And here, this is just breaks out the components of energy expenditure, right? Our metabolism, makes up the bulk of it. And of course, we have digesting foods, which is the next. Exercise is going to vary widely depending on how much you're doing. And then there's this concept of NEAT. You may have heard the acronym NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that's everything outside of structured exercise, and that's highly variable. So what's the total amount of calories you're consuming? And then the second thing you have to consider is, does the client or does the athlete want to change their body composition? Because if that's the case, and in the case of weight loss or fat loss, then we've got to establish a calorie deficit. The opposite is the case for muscle gain. And then if they're not trying to change their body composition, then you just have to make sure that they're at maintenance so that they're not losing weight on accident, so to speak, or gaining weight. So when it comes to weight or fat loss, you don't want to go too fast, because you could, it could really compromise performance, losing weight too fast and energy levels. So the general guidelines is 0.5% to 1% of body weight per week, depending on their starting weight and body fat. And once again, you've got to create a calorie deficit over time. How do you know if they're in a calorie deficit? Because their body's changing and you're measuring it on a regular basis. If their body's not changing over time, they're not in a calorie deficit. Now with muscle gain and performance, gaining too much too fast can slow speed and impair performance. So the general guideline is 0.25 to 0.5 pound every 2 weeks in general. You guys probably already know this. When someone's new, they can tend to put on weight more quickly. And then the more experienced you are, it takes a little bit, more time and more effort, more diligence to put on more weight as you sort of reach your potential. And then the opposite of fat weight and fat loss, you've got to create and sustain a calorie surplus, and you're measuring over time to see and make sure that their body is changing. Okay, so how much did you eat? For those of you who are utilizing the dotFIT program, you would use the program to get a starting plan, right? You would choose athletic performance for the goal, what sport, and their appropriate activity level. So the program gives you a starting calories, and this is just what it looks like from your phone, right? It'll give you 4,100 calories in this case, and this person's at maintenance, and that will help you establish a starting plan for your guideline. Now, no, these are all rough estimates. There's no 100% way to be completely accurate. You adjust this based on whether or not their body is changing or not over time. But the dotFIT program can do this. NASM also has a calorie calculator on their website that can also be utilized for those of you who are tuning in from the NASM side and not using the dotFIT program.